Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Nelly and this is Naledi Bdsm, a channel where we're going to be talking about anything sexual, anything financial freedom, and if you're interested in that, please do sit down. We do not welcome any judgment here. If you are here to judge, please do grab your bag and exit is in that direction. Go and watch other videos. Guys, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and also leave me a like. And if you have any questions, do leave me questions down below. If you're already into BDSM, funny question, what are your kinks? Okay, so this video is about what I did as a beginner in BDSM, because at some point we all starting in this. Mina, I wasn't introduced into BDSM by a specific person. I was just reading about it and I was like, oh, I'm interested in this. Like I'm a reader. I love reading, and like I'm interested in different type of things. So I was just reading a lot of things, and I found that I was having like kind of like not normal fantasies. So then that led me to a conclusion that I was into BDSM. So I wasn't introduced into this by anyone. Nobody like took me to some special dungeon where I saw whips and chains, or I dated someone who's into. No, I fell into this and I was in love. Okay, so when it comes to like starting in this, the first thing that I personally did was, because I love reading, I did my research. I was on Google all the time, and I was just searching everything and anything about BDSM, what you need to know about BDSM, what are the rules and everything. Because when you read a lot and when you research a lot, you come to find things that you are. And if you are researching, don't only rely on like one blogger or one article or one YouTuber who's talking about this. Just indulge yourself in different kind of people and listen to different views, because you may find different perspective and different understanding of what BDSM is. And it will also help you find out a lot of things that you might be interested in that you didn't even know you were interested in. So the first thing that I did was I did my research. I was reading up. I was introduced into BDSM by Cosmo. I think it's called Cosmopolitan internationally, but where I'm from, it's just called Cosmo. So I was introduced into it from Cosmo. So articles, everything, and then I went on the internet. Google is like number one suspect for giving you information. And then like it's understanding what every single letter stands for. What bondage is. Bondage is when like partners are involved in like restraining each other. In power exchange, it's a sex play that involves like power exchange. So one partner restrains the other partner to gain more control. So restraints are used. And then there's discipline. Discipline is when one partner is being taught how to obey and how to follow rules. So this is fundamental in a dom sub relationship. And then D can also stand for like dominance, and then we have like dominance and submission. So dominance is when dominance is when you take control from your partner. Okay, you take control from your partner, regarded that they've consented to you having that control. And then we have submission. Submission is when you consent to giving power to your partner who's a dominant. So you follow rules, you obey when you're sub. So you submitting, so you are surrendering your control. So both dominance and submission, I've learned that it's an act of surrendering and taking control. So where the dom is taking control and the sub is the one surrendering their control. So there's also, when it comes to like the type of dom and sub relationship, they're so diverse. You can have one which is called a switch, where a person is not one particular thing, like where a person can be like, no, I'm not a dom, I'm not a sub, but I'm in playing this passing by. Perks of living next to an airport. Okay, so as I was saying, I hope you guys can hear me. As I was saying, there's something called a switch. So a switch is when a person is like, when you meet like there's some personalities that are naturally like that, where you find that you are a dominant personality, you are an alpha personality. So when you meet a person who's much more reserved, you become dominant. But when you meet a person who is who has a personality which is much more dominant, then you become submissive. So it's the same case with a switch. So a switch, what they do is today they feel like being a dom, and then maybe the next minute they feel like being a sub. So with them, they can be both. They can be either or. So you have relationships like that. You have relationship which is strict, dominant, a dominant and a submissive, and you have relationships which are like switch, and they alternate depending on the mood. Also with the dominant and submissive thing, it can be only done in the bedroom. You find couples where they only practice the submission and like the dominance only in the bedroom. There's some that just practice it outside of the bedroom. So where it could be like done through acts of services outside of the bedroom, and it can be done through dominating your partner in the bedroom. So it's totally up to you, whichever one you choose, and whichever one is fine. I don't feel like there's people who judge you like, oh no, you're only doing it in the bedroom, so it does not make you a sub. No, it makes you a sub. If you feel like you're a sub, guys, you are a sub. Like, I place no judgment whatsoever. If you feel like you are a sub, you are a sub. Okay, let's move to my least favorite, which is S&M. I'm just gonna put like what it is here. So S&M is the act of receiving pleasure through giving gaining pleasure from pain. Just pain, either giving pain or receiving pain. So this varies. There's some people who just like being in pain and they find it pleasurable, and there's some people who just like inflicting pain and they also find that pleasurable. So this is also needs to be consensual. You're gonna hear me say this word a lot. This needs to be consensual between the two partners. And for me, it wasn't my cup of tea, so I did not indulge in it so much. So I will not really comment on it a lot. But I know that it does not have to involve whips and knives. So I was scared of it because the first initial thought I had when they were talking about it, I was like, pain, no thank you. Like legit, no thank you. I have a very high pain tolerance, but I was still like, not for me. And a lot of people, when they think about BDSM, the first initial thought that we have is that we think of the S&M, and we're like, no way. But BDSM is much more broader than just S&M, and I feel like S&M, and a lot of people are abusing it, and it gives a bad rap. So when you just think of BDSM, you think of these people who like to inflict pain, and that's why most criminals just use BDSM to kind of like cover up most things. Like they could be abusers, and they were like, no, I'm into BDSM, you're not understanding, I'm just into BDSM. But I've learned that it does not only have to involve whips and knives, nipple clips. No, it can be like done in other ways, like hair pulling, also biting. I am actually a biter, which is really funny. I bite. But I will not classify myself as a person who is under S&M. Like S&M is one of my kinks, but I bite. Like I love biting. Hair pulling, I'm a black woman, so hair pulling is you either gonna pull my wig off or you're gonna be killing my hairline. And I remember like my partner used to say, I'm not pulling your hair. Like it's never happening. Hair pulling and black woman do not mix, because guys, we're either wearing a weave, we either have a new hairstyle, so hair pulling hardly ever works. But there's the one that I like where a guy just puts their fingers, like they're holding your scalp like this. That one is very, 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 it's a 10 on for me. Like it's a legit 10 on. Okay, so the next thing I learned with BDSM is that safety is essential. So safety and consent are the number one rules when it comes to BDSM. So always make sure that you're safe, and always make sure that you have given consent. So whatever happens when you haven't given consent, we know by law is rape. But if you are a sub, you have given consent. If you're a dom, you've received consent from your partner. So it could be before or after, but always make sure that you gain consent. And also, you can always stop anywhere, regardless whether you gave consent, you signed a contract. anything, you can change your mind. You are allowed to change your mind. It doesn't mean that you are now obligated to follow this for the rest of your life, and now you're finding people that are gaslighting you. Oh, but you signed a contract. No, I can change my mind. A contract is not a formality. I don't even think it's valid in court. The contracts that we sign when we engage in BDSM, I don't even think they're valid, like when you take them to court. But consent and safety are the number one rules. Always make sure you practice those two, and you're going to have the best experience when it comes to BDSM. Okay, so the first thing that you need to learn when you get into the BDSM relationship, it is essential, and I learned this the hard way actually, is always make sure that you trust your partner. Once you 100% trust your partner physically and emotionally, you know you are safe with them. They're not going to harm you anyway, whether it's mentally, psychologically, and physically. You trust them. It's going to be the most pleasurable scene or sex play that you're going to have. It's going to be so nice. You're going to enjoy it. So do not engage with anyone you do not 100% trust with, both physically and emotionally. So make trust and your feeling and how you feel about that. When you feel like, for me, I always trust my gut. If that particular day I'm like, I don't feel like doing this, I'm not going to do it. Also with a person, there's some people where you just get bad vibes from. Do not engage, because as I said, like at the beginning of the video, we are very vulnerable people, and some people are taking advantage of like the BDSM community. So always make sure that you trust the person that you are engaging in BDSM with, whether it's just the active service type or it's the sexual one, like the bedroom one, because you have abusers that are using BDSM to abuse people. So always make sure that you're with a person you trust, and you know they have your best intentions in their heart, and you trust them fully. Okay, let's move to consent. With consent, make sure that you give consent at the beginning of like before a sexual play or before a scene. You give consent, and if you're a dom, always make sure that you receive consent before a scene. And also, if you were a sub, in the middle of the scene, if it's getting too much for you, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to stop it, and you are allowed to change your mind. Because if you are like me, you can, like, I'm an open-minded person with some things, and I'm like, okay. And sometimes you can do something like because you want to please your partner, and then in the middle of it, you're like, no, definitely not for me. So you are allowed to change your mind mid-scene, towards the end of the scene, at the beginning of the scene. So giving consent at the beginning doesn't bind you to carry on with the act, even if you don't want to carry on anymore. And we always follow the SSC, which is safety, sane, and consent. So safety, sane, and consent. So if a person is in their right state of mind, they're going to be able to carry on with that. Always make sure that they are safe, and it is your responsibility as a dom to make sure that your partner is safe, they're of sane mind, and they gave you consent. So always make sure that you make sure you follow those you follow the SSC rule. And we also have the REC rule, which is risk, aware, consensual, and a kink. So we minimize risk. We always try not to risk the other person, and we're making sure the other person is fully aware and they have given us consent. And obviously you're following your kink, so you're going to do what is within your kink. Also do what they also consented to. And also only engage in BDSM when both of you are sober-minded. To protect yourself, always engage in BDSM scenes when both of you are sober-minded. This is to protect like the dom, and also this is to protect the sub, because when you're drunk you can just say yes because you're a people pleaser, and you're saying yes because you're drunk. You don't necessarily mean that you want to do what they want you to do. And also, you as a dom, you can have like your partner say yes, but they don't actually just mean yes, they are a people pleaser. So just to involve also when you're drunk, you tend to lose a little bit of control. You can think you still like have control. For example, let's just take the breath play where like you're choking your partner. You can still think